the Monday morning audience here. I have another short video that I want to do really quick about the Nancy Guthrie case. And I do see one of the little girls coming in here to join me. And let me just hold on just a minute. Let me see if I can get her while I do my talking. I'll be right back. This is This is Dottie's baby coming, and she wants to see what I'm doing. They're so precious, and I've already fed their little faces this morning. But this is Dolly Parton right here. She's a pure doll. She's just a tiny little thing. You see, I have babies in my house. I wanted to do a little bit of a brief Monday morning thoughts that I'm having on the Nancy Guthrie case out in Arizona. As you well know, I've followed this from the minute that it happened, and I'm one of those people that, like the wonderful young journalist there, Brian Anton, and like Banfield, who was, I understand it, a professional law enforcement officer there. I won't turn this loose until we get some resolution for Savannah Guthrie and her family because this is a case that affects all of us. And my thoughts today are, since there's no suspect and no arrested, and what do you think, Ali, about all this? You agree with that? Uh, it's been 2.5 months since they still have made no arrest, and they still have made totally no even suggestion that they might know who took this woman out of her home. As you know, what my theory is, Nancy went to walk the moon, and that was her idea, and it was probably a family project. And I hate to say the word hoax because it looks like she was the kind of person that maybe wasn't going to do a hoax, but just went along with the rest of them or called them in to go along with her and what she was thinking about doing. She was 84 years old when she went out that front door, obviously. And what they said all along was that she was abducted from her home. But what I've said all along, and Dolly seems to agree with me on this now, but what I've said all along is there was no such thing as a, all that was hoax. That was the story they made up to cover what was going on. Now, I think that the other daughter and son-in-law and the son, I think they all just went along with what their mom wanted. I think the lovely Nancy, who has just totally 100% stolen the heart of the whole world, I think she just looked at that moon at night and said, I'm going to walk around that moon one of these nights, and I'm going to get my kids to help me do it, my grown kids. Now, I've already said that I may be wrong, and I've already been saying also, what if I am? So it won't be the first time. And I actually hope I'm right and that would not be as bad as the alternative, which would be that somebody did abduct her. Now, let's say that these thoughts today are the what if thoughts, and go back to the what if. Even the professionals worldwide are doing this. They're thinking, well, what if this went the other way? Or what if it's not like we said? What if it's another way? Well, what if it is? And let me tell you something. It obviously is because nobody's been right so far. There's nobody come forward and said, look, yeah, we like to collect this insurance money because we know what happened. I'm going to have to put Dolly back down. Hang on just one little second. Okay, Dolly, here you go, sweet girl. We've got we have what if, and I see, I do see some people making comments, and I appreciate you all so much. I don't do this for money. I totally do this for love. I've got a girlfriend that's had some strokes and can't get out of her chair, much less go anywhere, but she can look at me doing my YouTube videos. And I have friends that are in nursing homes and have done some things and make it really difficult for them to get out and about. And the truth of the matter is, if you can do a little something to lift somebody up, I have one friend that called me and said, Peggy, who is this lady you're talking about? Is this someone we know? And she said she just loved my videos so much and it made her day when I got on here. And I hope and pray that I can give actually some of the pros some food for thought here. And just like I said, I think we should all be saying, what if? What if this wasn't the way that they told it to be? And not saying that they are guilty of anything, but what if this case is very different? What if she didn't go to their house that night? Now I understand, and I didn't know this before now, but I have learned during the course of listening to all these professional law enforcement people on this case, I have learned that they can tell by the vehicle that supposedly took her back to her house after the so-called get-together. But let's go on even further back. Let's say for a minute, what if there was no get-together? What if the get-together was not a party? What if it was like sometimes we do in the South? I know families, and I'm one of them, that have just got together and had knockdown dragouts about politics and family doings and so on and so forth. I don't think we've ever fought over inheritance and stuff like that, because nobody in my family really has ever had a few cool million to toss around. But families do that. They don't tell the truth sometimes. Sometimes they get together and things are not what it might seem down here to the neighbors on the road, or sometimes other family members may not ever know just exactly what's going on. And the party or the project or the event is not exactly what it seemed. So let's back up here. What if this was not what it seemed to be? What if it was not a get together that was a happy get together? What it was a discussion about business? I did read an article where they were trying to talk her into moving into their home and helping them with their bills. I have no earthly idea if that's true or not. That is something that I read. It could be AI, it could be false. One thing I do want to make clear to you folks that are listening to me, and I'm so delighted and honored that people will actually take what I'm saying to heart, because I'm really trying to be helpful here. And I do think that sometimes we need to go back to the beginning of the story and say, wait a minute, what if everything happened quite differently? I do question what they said about that night happening the way that it did. I also question the fact that they were these wonderful caretakers, because, I mean, what kind of caretaking is this? To take an 84-year-old who cannot walk more than 50 feet or 50 yards or a short distance without a whole ton of trouble because of her back being so bad. And what kind of caretakers would take her back to her house and put her out? The actual quote was that they dropped her off. And as they said, they dropped her off. Then it goes to saying the son-in-law drove her home and dropped her off. What kind of son-in-law would drop an 84-year-old with a bad back off and not go open the door and not show her inside? Did he then leave like he said he did and go home? Was she even dropped off? Did she ever leave their home that night? So there's a whole lot that we have to go back and question. They have ways of knowing whether that car cranked up and drove X number of miles and then drove X number of miles back. I didn't know that, but they have ways of taking that car apart and looking at that car's computer and then finding out if the car really made those trips and made those miles and did what it said it was going to do. And so we learn a lot as we go. But what we're doing right now is we're saying, what if? One of the first things that I said was that if she was kidnapped, she might have been taken to Mexico. And I felt like myself that she was taken to Mexico. And why? For one thing, and the several of the professional retired law enforcement officers have agreed to this. They said it would be easier and much more likely to go south to and into easy crossing the border into Mexico is the easiest thing in the world. You just drive across and nobody says anything. So it would have been very easy for them to take her to Mexico. Why would they have gone north? That's up into the mountains, and I don't think anybody in their right mind would have taken an 84-year-old north. Back up for just a minute. What if we're saying what if the caretakers that supposedly dropped her off had then gone home and called her back and said, "Hey, mom, grandma, hey, are you okay? And are you going to be able to sleep?" The next morning at sunrise, if I had been the caretaker, I would have been on that phone calling my mother. If I only lived a few minutes from her house, I'd have been knocking on her door and said, "Do you need help this morning fixing your food or getting whatever?" See, there's a little bit of a difference in a hands-off caretaker and a hands-on caretaker, I can tell you that. And so there's a whole lot of what ifs. I do know that at this point there is still a reward out of $1 million for the tip that will bring her home. My personal feeling is that she didn't leave there unless two things happen. I said, Nancy looked up at the moon and said, "I think I'll go walk around that moon," and I stand by that. I think that's what happened. The other possibility, and I said, I know I may be wrong, of course. The other possibility is that the ransom and the staging of tearing up the cameras and all that stuff, all that was staged. There was no kidnapping. She either did what they wanted her to do in a case like that, and it didn't work. She possibly had a heart attack, and they carried her um, out, and she possibly, and of course, they know that she was bleeding when she went through that front door. The front door the guy that was mashing up the camera, that still looks like a woman to me. I don't know how they figured out it was a man, but it still looks very much like a woman, and she's got all her hair under there squished up in that mask, and then she leaned over, she had a bust line. So there were a lot of things that I think they need to go back and look at again. What if somebody did this to her? Somebody knows who did it. Somebody was in on it. And this is a message to the person that was in on it. Do you know that you don't have to go to the electric chair over this? That you can become a witness? You can call the FBI, 1-800-CALL FBI. You can call them and say, "I know who did this. I'm ready to get the money. I want to do the right thing and end all this agony for this family." The person that was part of this taking of her, or this failed bribery or attempted extortion, whatever it was, knows the guy who masterminded this. And they say, "Oh, they were bungling idiots." I don't think they were bungling idiots at all. They've gotten away for it until today when I'm speaking to you. And so they're not stupid. And so they are obviously sort of, I think, educated. Teachers, maybe? I don't know. But we're going to find out because I feel like the accomplice or the person who was in on it is going to call the FBI. And I feel like he's going to do it today because the good Lord's going to lay it on his heart to stop this horrifying tragedy and say, I know who did it. I also question the sheriff's activities. I don't know anything about sheriff, and I thank God for that. It's too, and I don't think I have a best friend, a beautiful blonde who was our head majorette in high school. She became a detective, and Jean, you know where you are today, and she is beautiful and brilliant, and has saved me from a bunch of dilemmas in my lifetime by figuring things out that I couldn't even touch. And she would say, let them do their job. And I think they've had time to do their job. I think they should call in, should have Wade Dunn called in the Cajun Navy. And the Cajun Navy would put out its sensitive, scent-seeking bloodhounds. And they would find her if she's out there. Now, I did hear from my friends in Arizona, an old wise guy and a wise man. I love him so much. His name is John Omler, and he did say this desert goes for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and it's drug cartel country, and it's really bad ones out there. And while it may be beautiful, it is a bad, bad place. And I think he's right about that, and I think something bad happened here, and it's such a tragedy. I want all of you to know today. I'm just thinking, what if, and I'm just praying to the good Lord that the person who knows who did this, that God will just bear on him today and lay it on him to call and confess and say, okay, I'm ready for this to get over with. I know my life is kind of over, that my family can get the money and live happily ever after. And so, there's got to be a resolution. Lord, let it come today. Before I stop my filming, let me say one thing to you folks. I am starting back after last year's nightmare for my health. And I just praise God that my book that's on Amazon, What God Told Me, and I don't have a copy of it right here, I see. But I just thank the Lord that people have gotten this book and said, this book changed my life. I'm now praying and I'm feeling better. Be smart about what you do. Don't be a dummy. Talked to a lady the other day that said she had cancer, and what should she do? I said, go on an anti-cancer diet and do it right now today. There's so much to share with you people about my life. I'm an author, I'm a writer. I teach aspiring writers and help them edit their books and so on and so forth. And I will be starting back with a podcast, and I hope to do this tomorrow on writing best-selling poetry, because I do have a new poetry book coming out really quick, and it may even be this week. And I thank the Lord for everybody. If you want to what they call subscribe to my YouTube channel here, you do that, and you can help me out. And I'm trying to figure out this camera thing here, because it seems like I was making videos with a better camera, and all that's going to happen again, and it's going to be nice. And when I come back with my my YouTube video on poetry, if you have a suggestion on a better camera that'll get better pictures, or what am I doing here? The only thing I know how to do here is grow roses. I love you all. Praying for the man to turn in and get the resolution on the Nancy Guthrie case. We love you, Miss Nancy. Go with God. Bye-bye, folks.